So we're at the PowWow Mobile booth at VMworld 2017 in the mobility section. Can you tell us a little bit about the company and what you're showing here at VMworld?
Absolutely. So PowWow Mobile is all about extending your enterprise apps to mobile and beyond. So what we can do is we can take all of your existing data, right? We call these your systems of record. These are the things that don't change much. Your Oracles and SAPs, and also your home-built applications. All the places where you store data in your enterprise. And those don't change very often, and people really aren't innovating around how users interact with those. But users are starting to ask for all kinds of different interaction modes, right? These are what we call your systems of engagement. Your system of engagement around how users actually use that data. And what users are asking for is they're asking for mobile, they're asking for chatbots, voice-based assistants, all these different ways of accessing that data. And so PowWow Mobile is all about how do you extend your data into all these different scenarios. So we are able to connect data that comes from any data source into all of these new mechanisms for data. So our primary tools are SmartUX Studio, where all kinds of different business users can create mobile apps using a drag and drop environment. And what we're showing at this show is we're showing a tight integration with AirWatch, because as we, in the world that we live in, central IT is often the one who owns the mobile development tools, but they're farming out the actual mobile development to the line of business. And these are citizen developers, people who aren't traditional app developers. And for them to use some of these more advanced capabilities, things that are offered by products like AirWatch, security, advanced analytics, and now mobile flows, all of these are advanced features that wouldn't be accessible to a typical citizen developer. With our drag and drop studio, we make those features available to every different kind of developer. And I'm happy to show you how that works.
Great. And do you see any trends in virtualization and cloud that are going to affect the mobility platform in the future? Yeah,
absolutely. So fundamentally, when I talk about, what are the systems of record? The systems of record are fundamentally changing, right? That's where virtualization, that's where cloud is really playing a big role, because it used to be that maybe you had one system of record, like your SAP or your Oracle, and you had a mobile solution that would cover your SAP or your Oracle, and that would help you mobilize your whole business. Now, customers are increasingly moving to a much more diverse range of systems, both in the cloud and by using virtualization, to get those different kinds of systems spread out in all kinds of different places. And so that makes the data access problem even harder. And so a solution like PowWow Mobile really helps you find, really helps you access all those different kinds of data in your mobile apps.
Great. And can we take a look at the product?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to.
So what are you going to show us?
So I'm going to show our SmartUX Studio product, and I'm going to show how you can use that to easily and quickly build all kinds of different mobile apps, and then how you can easily, with drag and drop, integrate that with AirWatch, Apptelligent, and Mobile Flow SDKs.
Great.
So let's get started. So this is our studio. It's a web-based studio that allows developers to create applications in a drag and drop manner. And I'm going to actually start out with one of the key pieces of functionality here, which is our preview functionality. So I'm going to show you an application that's already been built using our tools. In this case, this is used in a manufacturing use case. And so this is an app that they use on the floor to scan the barcodes as they bring parts in and out of the different bins on the factory floor. And so it's a fairly simple application. You've got a login button, you've got a way to search for different parts, and then you can scan a barcode. We're in a preview mode here, so we won't be able to really scan a barcode, but on a real device, we would use the native capabilities of the device, the camera on the device, to scan a barcode and find an item, and then we can change the stock. So this is a fairly typical internal application used in a manufacturing use case. And this application was built using our studio. So here's the application, and it's coming in, and we have a drag and drop environment where you can see all the different kinds of components that you can add to an application like this. And you can adjust the properties of each component, and you can build this application using drag and drop. And so, we've built the screens of we've built all the different screens of the application using this drag and drop. Now, one of the key things about this studio is that we don't have to start from scratch. We have an extensive template system that allows us to build screens based on pre-built templates. And so we ship with a series of almost 100 templates for all the most common use cases in an application, whether that's home screens, login screens, various types of forms, and so on and so forth. But also, more importantly, enterprises can create their own templates. And again, in a world where a centralized IT group is managing the platform, but then they're sharing it out to a set of different developers, this allows them to easily and quickly share work across the organization. So for example, if you build a login screen and you integrate that with Touch ID and you integrate that with your corporate login, there's no reason that every developer should have to know how to do that. That's something that you would do once and you would share across all the different developers. So a template-based mechanism for creating applications makes things much quicker. And we estimate that somewhere between 40 and 60% of screens on an application could be built from templates. So that's an important part of the studio. Another key part, I mentioned the drag and drop. So part of what we're showing at this show is the ability to bring in new kinds of capabilities via drag and drop. And these are capabilities that might not be generic, but might be specific to a particular kind of, to a particular environment, like an AirWatch environment. Okay. So what we're showing is the ability to, when I'm building my app, tell the infrastructure what kind of software development kits we're using. And so you can see here we have the AirWatch SDK, we have the Apptelligent SDK for monitoring, and we have the Workspace ONE SDK for mobile flows. And so we're going to add all of those SDKs to our project. And what that does, when we add SDKs to the project, it adds a new capability. So again, we are creating native applications that are deployed on the mobile device. These SDKs give that native application new capabilities based on, for example, AirWatch security. So now we've told our system about the ability to use AirWatch, but typically a developer would still have to go in and write some code in order to make use of the functions of those SDKs. Right. And so what we're able to do is we're able to use the same drag and drop environment to allow citizen developers to include these more advanced features, these advanced capabilities of the system directly into the app. So let me show you what that looks like. So let's start with the Apptelligent SDKs. And this is a monitoring and analytics platform acquired by VMware. So you can see down here, because I've added those SDKs, I now have access to a set of VMware features which are under the Workspace ONE category. And there are several features that are related to Apptelligent: starting user flows, stopping user flows, failing user flows, breadcrumbs. All of these are things that are tracked in the Apptelligent console. So when you're creating an app, you need to specify which of these user flows, what screens they're on, and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a start user flow component. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into an expanded view that shows the details of how the screen is built, and I'm going to drag the start user flow component in. And you can see this created a component, and I can give this component a name. In this case, I'm going to say it's the login flow. And this component doesn't have a representation on the screen. In normal view, I don't see it. But when the screen is loaded, it's going to tell Apptelligent that I'm starting the login flow. And then when I move to the next screen, so for example, the home screen, at this point, a user is successfully logged in. So again, I can drag in a stop user flow component, and I can drop that onto my page, and I can tell it to stop the login flow. And on this page, I can also potentially start another flow. I could also fail user flow. So for example, if there's a flow that's 3 or 4 screens long and a user gives up after the second screen, I can fail it. All of that information will be recorded in the Apptelligent console. So for example, I can see how many users have failed any particular user flow that I've specified, indicating that they didn't want to complete, that they weren't able to complete the function that I was intending them to do. So that's an example of how we can do drag and drop integration of the Apptelligent capabilities. Another key capability is security. And often when using products like AirWatch, security is a very black and white, all or nothing kind of a situation. You wrap an app and you say, for example, if you're not on the corporate network, you can't use this application. But in reality, when you look at how people are building mobile apps, they're trying to build mobile apps that are smaller and smaller, but pack more functionality, like consumer apps, into a smaller number of screens. And to do that, your screens have to be very much context aware. And so what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to use the security context, not defined by the developer, but defined by the AirWatch administrator. We want to use that security context directly inside the application. So the next feature will show that. So let me go to the details view screen. And in this scenario, what we're interested in is we're interested in having a capability at the, not even at the screen level, but at the individual component level to say that in certain security situations, I can or can't use certain components. So in this case, what we want is we want to control when people have access to these remove stock and add stock buttons. So for example, maybe when you're on the factory floor, you're allowed to use these buttons, but if you're looking at the stock from home, you're not allowed to use them. And so what we can do is we can drag in a secure container. And the secure container works just like you can see with our layout. We have containers with rows and columns. A secure container works just like a regular container, but with some extra security data attached to it. So I'm going to take my container, I'm going to drag it inside the secure container. And once it's in there, now these buttons are now controlled by the rules of the secure container. In the secure container, I can control when I want to show it. I can say I can show it when it's secure or show it when we're insecure. So for example, I could create two containers, one that I show with buttons when it's secure and one that I show saying a message that you're not allowed to see it when it's insecure. What's really key about this feature though, is that it's not up to the developer what the policy is for the security. It's up to the AirWatch administrator how to enforce that security policy. So maybe they decided security policy based on the network. Maybe they decided security policy based on whether the app's been rooted or not. You know, all these different policies that are available within the AirWatch console, the administrator now defines those policies, and they apply at a very granular level in the application. So this again allows developers who wouldn't normally be able to incorporate security into the application to easily do it using drag and drop. And then the final feature that we want to show is related to the newly announced tech preview around mobile flows. Mobile flows allow you to add additional functionality from multiple applications into a single flow. So a good example is within the Boxer email application, you can get a notification based on, for example, the inventory that comes from a system like this. And so we want to enable mobile flows in applications built with our studio as well, again using drag and drop. And you know, workflows and mashup applications have always been something that our platform has done. But being able to tap into this mobile flows engine gives us a new access to new kinds of data inside the application that's immediately actionable. So just like with all these other components, we can go ahead and use the mobile flow capability. We can drag and drop a mobile flow component into our application, and you can see here what I get is a generic mobile flow, and this shows how the mobile flow will look if it shows up on the screen. And so I can have the mobile flow, I can control the style, the colors, all of that stuff. So this allows me to indicate that a mobile flow is possible. Now, by integrating with the AirWatch with their mobile flow engine, we're able to actually populate the content of this based on what's on this screen. So let me go ahead and save this application, and then I'm going to go back into our preview mode. I'm going to log in. I'm going to go to the LCD screen. Now I'm going to click on scan barcode, and you can see as we scan the barcode, as we were loading the data for this particular item, it sent a query to the mobile flow server and found out that there was a return that was active in a different system, like Salesforce. And now what we're able to do is we're able to take actions on that return that will trigger something in another system. So for example, this might notify the Salesforce system to actually give the customer a refund when they do the RMA. Right. So again, this is integrating the ability to view mobile flows into an application. On the other side, we're also able to collect data. So again, our system is able to get data from all kinds of different sources, and we have a system for publishing connectors into the mobile flow system, so you can also create new mobile flows that capture data from legacy applications, from web applications, from all kinds of different data sources that we support.
Well, thanks for taking the time to show VMblog demo of your product, and hope you had a great show here at VMworld.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having us.